Hello and welcome to Coach's Decision, a weekly talk show that covers sports topics from the Bay Area and beyond. My name is Thomas Todd. I am joined here today in the lovely KSCO studios by the freest of agents, Joaquin Nagel. Joaquin, you brought in your entourage today. I believe Paul Pierce, Chris Paul, Blake Griffin.
We're coming in via plane, via rocket ship, via banana boat.
So we do this show live.
Yes.
What's happening live in Houston right now?
Blake Griffin and DeAndre Jordan are playing cards and video games at DeAndre's house.
Why is that?
Because DeAndre Jordan had agreed to terms with the Mavericks on a 4-year deal and has now decided, since he hasn't signed a contract and he is the most unrestricted free agent of all time, he wants to go back to LA.
The most unrestricted free agent of all time. So unrestricted, he has started an NBA emoji war.
Yes.
After deciding that he maybe didn't want to sign with the Mavs, like he told Mark Cuban, like he told Chandler Parsons, like he told the world he was going to do. What was your favorite emoji so far?
I liked Mo Spates coming out with the ring and the trophy.
See, I liked what you mentioned earlier, Paul Pierce trying to do an emoji, but it turned out it was just an image of an emoji. It's set in his tweet because he has no idea how to use them.
Old man clip art.
He can hit big game-winning shots, but he can't hit that send button with the right picture.
What did he call when he sent the tweet? Did he call 1998?
1998, Kansas, Compton.
It's amazing. It's amazing. The Clippers go from, we thought the Clippers are going to be a contender when they picked up Pierce and Lance, and then they lose DeAndre, and everyone's thinking, well, now are they in the same group as Memphis and Houston? Are they even as good as Memphis and Houston? Maybe they're going to be the 6th seed in the playoffs next year. Like, maybe their biggest threat is having a small ball lineup with Griffin at the center. And then all of a sudden DeAndre's back, and they've added Lance and Pierce, who both give them size and more of an ability to like play physically and match up with other teams with good perimeter players. And now once again they're in that group, that Big Four group out west with Golden State and Oklahoma City and San Antonio.
We're going to talk about that later in the show and more of NBA free agency. I want to get into the psychology of DeAndre Jordan. Was this all just a cry for help? Was this all just pay attention to me? Blake Griffin gets the commercials. Chris Paul gets the commercials. Chris yells at him every day in practice. Blake's the golden boy. Was this just his time to shine?
I don't know. There's been, I think it was Kevin Arnowitz of ESPN was talking about how Chris intentionally doesn't high-five DeAndre. Like, DeAndre's always been labeled a head case. Like, he dropped to the second round. His coach at A&M threw him under the bus while he was declared for the draft.
You are 6'17", DeAndre. Do you really need a high five to validate you?
Oh, he can't shoot free throws in games. Like, he's a head casey dude.
Yeah, he hasn't been that head casey lately. I mean, the mental part of his game could still develop, but he was a regular and awesome contributor on that team. He'd grab 20, 25 rebounds in a game when he felt like it. So.
Right, but they don't. They keep on saying we don't run plays for DeAndre, we don't run plays for DeAndre, and they're saying it because it's like, this guy's going to get his points and he's going to get his boards with or without us running plays for him. But maybe he's taking it as they don't want to give me the ball, they don't think I can do anything. Maybe he just wants more attention from the Clippers.
I wish we could just break news on this show because it's going to happen at the bottom of the hour. NBA free agency becomes official. Guys can actually sign contracts and say where they're going for real.
Midnight Eastern.
Yeah, which is when our show ends, of course. So that's going to be fantastic. But right now they're sitting in a living room playing cards after the meeting.
There was, initially after their meeting, there was all this talk of how they wouldn't let Mark Cuban in the house, or like Mark Cuban and Chandler Parsons couldn't talk to DeAndre and no one was letting him talk to them, as though like he was being held hostage, like he was kidnapped by his Clipper teammates.
But it's like a 4th grade version of hostage. Like it's like the game you play when you're just messing around in the house and there's the one kid nobody likes.
Yeah, it's really just the Clippers allowing DeAndre to save face a
Mark
little
Cuban,
bit.
You can't come to the sleepover.
Do you think Mark Cuban's like out there texting DeAndre like, you up? How you doing?
You up? All right, well, somebody who is up, a group of players, in fact. The U.S. women have won the World Cup, the 2015 World Cup, the first time in 16 years, which is only, 4 cups. That's not that big of a deal. But it was a redemption story for the American women. Abby Wambach gets her cup, which we're very happy about, one of the best women's soccer players in American history. Carly Lloyd comes up.
Oh, man.
3 goals in 16 minutes. I haven't scored 3 goals in 16 years. I don't play a lot of soccer, but I could never put the ball in the net. But Carly Lloyd, does she become the icon from this tournament because of the way she played down the stretch?
She has to be. She scored a goal in every round of the knockout phase. And I believe she scored the winning goal in the last 2 Olympics, right?
Yeah, so the Rapinoe might be a better player. Would you agree with me?
Yeah,
I love the way
I thought
plays.
Rapinoe was the best player on the team.
But
going
goal
into the
scoring
tournament.
gets paychecks.
Yes,
Basically, she's going to be on the Wheaties box. She's going to be doing endorsement deals. Hope Solo played fantastic, but right now she's got a couple black marks on her resume. And that's not Joaquin's gesturing to his eye. Please don't do that on my show. Don't hit anybody. We learned that from the FSU quarterback. Just don't hit anybody. But yeah, she's going to be the marketable prospect from this. How old is she? I can't recall how old she is, but I think she's not going to be the new Mia Hamm, but she's going to be.
She's the face of women's soccer.
That's important.
She's right now probably the face of American soccer. I think more people would recognize Carly Lloyd or recognize that name than any name on the U.S. men's team.
Well, and let's talk about that because the ratings came out for that final game, and it was bigger than the NBA Finals. It was bigger than the NHL Stanley Cup Finals. It went against a lot of major American sporting events and did well. And has to be the highest rated women's sporting event of all time if it's matching up with those things. Is this only going to be important every 4 years? Are we going to be able to have a little trickle down for women's soccer in America?
Well, there was a bump after the last World Cups and after the last Olympics in live attendance for women's professional games. And they even created a women's professional league. So I think there'll be a carryover there, but I think this is a very special moment where it's a singular event, right? Like the NBA Finals didn't have a single game. This doesn't compare to the Super Bowl.
Right, and it never will. And nothing in soccer or tennis or golf or any of the peripheral sports.
Not in the U.S.
Yeah, anywhere would never be able to compare to the Super Bowl in the U.S. But right now they have marketable stars. They have names they can attach to teams, which they can attach to sponsorships. Little girls in this country are playing soccer already. That's why this country is so good at women's soccer. This is why we have a network of Title IX endowments. There's money in women's sports in America, and it's starting to show at the international and professional levels. So I think this is going to be huge because there are little girls everywhere who are already playing soccer who now have idols. There's Brandi Chastain's pivotal moment in '99, which created a generation of women's soccer fans and players. And now we've got Lloyd and Wambach and Hope Solo doing it for this generation. So I think it's just going to burst and bloom from here.
I totally agree.
Cool. Speaking of women's sports bursting, we're doing 2 women's sports after the DeAndre story before we bring on our friend Ken Keegan because I want to talk about Serena Williams.
Love her.
She is pushing the envelope as definitely the best female athlete of her generation, but it might go back a few generations before you find anyone who's been as dominant as she is right now.
Yes, yeah. No, she's crushing again.
And she's not even crushing. She's getting down sets.
Well, she's down a set and then winning
people.
2 in a row, but the victories seem decisive. When you're watching these third sets, she's running away.
My goodness. She is great. She is going to win the Slam this year. I think she's going to win all 4. No more Serena Slam. It's going to be an actual calendar year Grand Slam. Only 5 people have ever done that. Can you name any of them? I asked this at the trivia night you missed on Monday. I asked this, men or women, who have won the calendar Slam? It's 3 women and 2 men.
Oh, goodness. I would guess Steffi Graf.
Steffi Graf, yep, the most recent to do it. Maureen Connolly.
Navratilova?
No, Margaret Court. Margaret Court, Maureen Connolly, Don Budge, and Rod Laver are the 2 men to do it.
I wouldn't have guessed any of the dudes. I would have gone with Graf.
Laver's always a good guess because he didn't have much competition back then, and he was very dominant. But she's about to do something that Tiger couldn't do in golf, which would have been a much bigger accomplishment. She is pushing to be the best female athlete of all time. She only has to win 2 or 3 more, or maybe even 4 more.
This will be her 21st.
21st. I think the record's 22 or 24. So she's pushing that record, and she's going to get it easily.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine if Venus had never existed and been the better player for a couple of years.
Or imagine if they had managed to try hard against each other in their matches.
Well, I mean, that basically their father told them who was going to win each match. They kind of were taking turns for a while until it became clear Serena's legacy was going to be five times what her sister's was going to be. I mean, Venus was a great player.
Venus is a great player and like one of the great grass and hard court players, but just not the all-arounder that Serena is.
She's just a freakish athlete. She's the Beyonce of tennis, and not just for the thighs and the forcefulness of her passion for the game and career. I'm really excited about Serena right now.
Do you think she'll handle Sharapova easily?
It's tough because Sharapova, if she gets up, she can win. You know, right now Serena's been getting down early. You don't want to do that against a talented player like Sharapova.
Sharapova has a power game, and that really helps on grass, right? Because the speed of the serves are accelerated.
And all that grunting.
I mean, it could get distracting.
I'd be distracted. I'd be terribly distracted. All right, let's give some love to our sponsors here. Our first sponsor today, Bruno's Barbecue and Catering in Kings Village Shopping Center in Scotts Valley. They've got all my favorite food groups, ribs, burgers, steaks. They've got some salads. They've got wonderful French fries. Beers all around. You can get them by the pitcher, by the tall glass, by the regular glass. They serve all of your needs. Also have a full bar. They can bring you in for a full party, provide a bartender in their upstairs loft. There's TVs, there's sports, there's 49ers memorabilia all around you who want to watch 49ers games. I don't know, that's not me, but 49ers, Giants, Warriors, you can see it all there. Bruno's Barbecue in Scotts Valley. They've also got ping pong and darts. And if you want some of those French fries for free, please mention my name, mention you heard us here on the radio, and you will get a free order of fries. That's off the Mount Hermon exit in Scotts Valley in Kings Village Shopping Center. That's Bruno's Barbecue. All right, another sponsor today, and this one is even nearer and even dearer to my heart today because Ken Keegan is in studio today. We're going to get my friend Ken in. He's going to give away some art. We're going to talk to him about baseball and art. You can find all of his art and his prints on artwanted.com by searching his name, Ken Keegan. He's going to come on right now. Giants are playing the Mets, just finished a 3-game series. The Mets took 2 of 3, so Ken's probably going to get some headphones on, big guy. Let's do this thing. All right, so we're going to give away some prints in just a few minutes. You're going to be calling 831-479-1080 to try to take home some of Ken Keegan's prints. How you doing, Ken? Step up to the mic. Center stage.
I'm doing pretty swell there, Thomas. How you doing?
Good.
Take 2 out of 3. Correct. Of course, I went to the only game they lost.
Well, you know what? You should have gone to all 3. That would have really helped my liking of the games. Well, first, let's talk about your art, Ken, because you're a local guy. You worked in this town for how long? You've lived here for how long?
Well, this time was 12 years. Yeah, since 2003 I came back, but I went to school here.
Yep. Ken, very connected to Santa Cruz, very connected to nature. A lot of your paintings are about people interacting with nature and landscapes, people interacting with each other. That seems to be the stuff you're interested in.
Yeah, everyone's a new one. I have no theme. I'm not the boat guy. I'm not the, that's a lot of galleries ask, well, what do you do? I say, everything. I do abstract. It's whatever moves me. And, yes, people, since I come from New York, I used to roam around the city and I used to love just drawing faces. So, the human element comes into most of my paintings, yeah. Nice,
yeah. No, I'm a big fan of your art. I've been to your house a couple of times. It's everywhere. And also in your backyard is the biggest piece of art you've ever made. It's a miniaturized baseball diamond with a full outfield wall. That thing's still standing, right?
No, I moved from that place. That was about 3 years ago. I had to take it down.
I've seen some old pictures of it, though, and it brought me back to when we used to play baseball together. That was so much fun.
That was good.
You need to rebuild your testament, your ode to the Mets. You got to rebuild Shea because that thing's not coming back.
I haven't been to Citi Field yet.
Yeah, I've been to Citi Field once. I'd been to Shea probably a dozen times, just going back and visiting my family back there. I loved it. I mean, it's a big blue circle, but
it's all right.
There's a lot of history there, and I'm a big part of that history, and I'm going to brag about myself a little bit. My parents are both Mets fans, like Ken. Mm-hmm. I came along in
Where did you go wrong?
My mom moved out to California, and away I went as a Giants fan. But I was born during or immediately after Game 6 of the 1986 NLCS, which is one of the most famous baseball games of all time. Do you remember that game?
Absolutely. I was actually doing my graduate work up at Bard College, and I was living in the Hamptons.
Oh, boy.
Yes, I'm just name dropping. And I was there, and on every pitch from the Houston series, there were times where I couldn't move. Baseball is superstitious. Mm-hmm. If I was sitting in one place and something happened, I had to stand there. when Bill Buckner made his famous mistake, I was standing in the middle of my living room because I was heading towards the kitchen to get something, and I couldn't move from that spot because things were going good.
Well, and catheter technology wasn't what it is now, so you didn't have the little
yes, exactly.
the little bag on your leg where you can sit for 3.5 hours. But no, I'm born after a 16-hour, 4-hour, and 42-minute baseball game. My father wandering up and down the halls asking the other dads, or potential dads, what the score was. They win that game. They win a very famous World Series. 3 months later, my parents are huge New York Giants fan. The Giants win their first ever Super Bowl. So
no such thing as coincidence.
No, I brought my family's teams a lot of luck, and since then it's been touch and go. A couple more Giants Super Bowls. Mets got to the World Series in 2000. You've been watching the team this year. Jacob deGrom, Matt Harvey. What is up with this young pitching? They just have Noah Syndergaard. They have a whole slew of talent right now. Does that get you excited for the future?
Absolutely. And if Travis d'Arnaud was playing, if David Wright was playing, we have no offense at all in the Mets. But the Mets fashioned their game after the Giants. They started with the pitching, and they made no bones about it. They saw how that organization went. And the Giants are my second team. My father grew up a New York Giants fan. And so I root for the Giants. I love the team. I love Hunter Pence. I love, of course, Jimmy Jam.
big time Timmy Jim.
Yeah.
Oh, he's out right now. That's no good. But what you said about copying the Giants, or not copying, but investing in young pitching, drafting and then developing young pitching, trading for a guy like Syndergaard from the Blue Jays, that is a good way to go, especially when your team has no money. No, the Mets used to spend heavy, but then the Wilpons got into the Bernie Madoff scheme.
Yes.
They lost a couple $100 million.
Yes.
So they're cash strapped right now. Eventually they're going to dig their way out of that hole.
They're actually fine right now. They did come out of the hole.
But you want to get your lifestyle back in order before you fully plunge into another hole. Put some of that away before you fully jump in. But I think by this time next year, they could be fully committed to rebuilding the offense and having a flush roster. Because guys want to play in New York. There's no reason they wouldn't want to.
Well, actually, Troy Tulowitzki, which was the big off-season rumor going on, he actually likes the Yankees better.
Okay.
So, but the Mets have a good team. The pitchers are excellent now, and they got Mejica back after his suspension.
Familia has pitched really well as your closer. He's been fantastic. He's on the actual ballot for the final vote for the All-Stars.
Yes, I already voted. Yes, okay. A few times. Yes, he's actually very, very good. He's got the demeanor. He reminds me, actually, I hate to say it, Mariano Rivera kind of demeanor.
Please.
I'm saying demeanor. I'm not saying quality. I'm just saying I watched him in warming up and everything, and like Mejica's kind of crazy, and Parnell's with the beard and everything, but I actually think he's going to be good for a long time. Comparing
your player to a once-in-a-generation talent.
And a Yankee. And a Yankee, too. So
you're going to get crucified.
I know.
Good thing you're not a blogger. You'd be... Oh.
No.
If you would like one of Ken's prints, we're going to give them away to our listeners right now. Please call 831-479-1080. We're going to give priority to our first caller right now. We're going to give away a print as we keep talking about baseball. Because the All-Star game is coming up. It's going to be played in Cincinnati. We've talked a little bit about it on the show. The Giants have some guys in. The Mets have deGrom and maybe Familia. Is there anyone else on your team you'd want to push in if you had to?
There's no one.
There's no one else.
There's no one I could.
Yeah, you guys will get there.
Yeah.
How important do you think it is to win the All-Star game? You're a National League fan. You know the Mets probably won't be in the World Series, but do you root for the National League when the game goes on?
Oh, without a doubt, yeah.
Okay.
That junior circuit called the American League with the DH and stuff, and that they don't really count. They just
okay. I agree with you. I don't like the DH at all. We can talk about that. Joaquin.
Yes.
Have you jumped in on this final vote thing? Because there's a reason that Giants fans should be in on this final vote for the All-Star.
Why is that, Thomas?
Because Clayton Kershaw has been relegated to the final vote, and he better not get voted in.
No?
I want Clayton Kershaw as far away from this All-Star game as possible.
Why? Don't you want his arm to fall off?
He's a choker.
Ken's calling him a choker.
In the big series, he always has.
I feel bad. He's one of the best pitchers on the planet, maybe the best pitcher on the planet. Max Scherzer category not counting this year because that guy's out of his mind. But he might not make the All-Star team.
But don't you as a Giants fan want to see other teams have to have their players play in the All-Star game?
I wanted him traded to the Korean Professional Baseball League. I want him giving up home runs to those bat-flipping monsters over there. No, so I've been voting for Johnny Cueto because the game's being played in Cincinnati, and he might get dealt soon. So I'd like to have their fans see him pitch some important innings because they're terrible this year. I have some friends who are Reds fans. They're horribly depressed.
They are.
You've been there, Ken. I've been there as recently as 2008. It's been a while, but I've been that depressed before. I have a couple snubs I want to talk about, too. I'm going to get out my show notes here because I got angry at some of this all-star voting. The reigning Cy Young Award winner in the American League, the junior circuit, as Ken calls it, is not in the all-star game despite having the second highest wins above replacement for any pitcher in baseball, Corey Kluber. I'm very upset. He's striking out more than 10 batters per 9 innings, but the Indians haven't played that well when he started, and he's 4-9. Do either of you think that record should play into All-Star Game, MVP, Joaquin?
I think the writers have shown a little bit of an ability to ignore record when it comes to Cy Young, right? They gave it to Felix Hernandez when he was, 12-11?
Yeah, but 4-9 is different than 12-11 or 12-13 or whatever he was that season.
Pitcher wins don't matter. Pitcher wins just don't matter at all.
I so agree. Put Corey Kluber in the game. He's the reigning Cy Young Award winner. Clayton Kershaw's the reigning MVP. I have no problem using someone's reputation to bump them in. That's why Bumgarner's in.
To be fair, we have an advantage, a head start on understanding how unimportant pitcher wins are because we had to watch Lincecum and Kane pitch eight inning gems and get the loss. Just giving up a run.
Caned. It used to be called a caning. Eight innings, 2 runs, and a loss.
Yeah, but I'm just saying as Giants fans, we just have a little bit of a head start there.
The only person on a better wins above replacement pace than Kluber in the pitching category is Scherzer, who's smoking the field. But that's ridiculous. He's not on the roster. Also in the National League, I want Jake Arrieta on the Cubs. He's been fantastic. This is the second year in a row he's been 40% above average as a pitcher. He's a 1.41 ERA plus, which is great. And I would even be willing to bump Madison Bumgarner from the All-Star game to see this kid go. That's how serious I am about it.
Well, you can let Bumgarner go back to the farm, drive the tractor around.
That's fine, yeah. One of my favorite bloggers, Grant Brisbee of McCovey Chronicles, he says that he loves the Giants because he knows at any given time 3 players on his team are thinking about hay. Well, we've got some good old boys on the team. Mad Bum and Posey's from Georgia, and Matt Cain's I think from one of the Carolinas.
You also got Lincecum.
I was going to say, is that Lincecum's code word?
Hey,
I love the guy.
He hasn't been busted in years, and now it's legal where he's from, so everything's great. All right, so once again, if you want to call in and win a print from Ken Keegan, the number is 831-479-1080. We're going to be giving away 4 total prints today. We do have someone on the line. I'm not sure who it is. We're still working with producer Tori to find that out. Let's wrap up this segment talking about the Home Run Derby. Now, I'm new school, but I have a couple old school sensibilities. I loved the Home Run Derby in the 90s. I grew up in the steroid era. Guys were launching balls into parking lots, into other atmospheres. Does this stuff excite you, Ken? Do you like Home Run Derbies?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I was like, as a kid, used to watch all the Mickey Mantle versus and Willie Mays, and they used to have that little thing. But Josh Hamilton, when he launched all those a few years ago, that was amazing. It was just, I love it. Yeah, so everybody loves the long ball. Do
you like that it's head-to-head this year? Do you like that they're squaring off 1v1? Because you mentioned having Mantle go versus people. Yeah. Is that what excites you this year?
Yeah, it does. You want to see the guys, and you want to see...
Yeah, it's very NBA three-point shootout.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they don't go head-to-head, though, do they?
Well, they did for a while.
Okay.
Just one on each end, and then it's like a bracket.
Okay, yeah, I like the 1v1 because I like guys to get under each other's skin, or maybe, when you're playing against the whole field, you're just like, I'm going to focus on me, and I'm going to hit as many home runs as I can.
I would like him to trash talk a little bit.
Well, that's why I miss Griffey.
Have one guy standing behind the backstop, just hollering at the other guy. You can't hit that.
I love when they just on the sidelines when you see everybody like in awe.
Yeah, they're holding their kids and filming it. It's really cute. I miss Junior Griffey because he got to trash talk without saying a word. Just had a big smile, a backwards baseball hat, and the sweetest left-handed swing outside of Barry Bonds. I loved that. All right, looks like we have a couple calls on the line. Let's go ahead and get to our first caller to talk over here. All right, we've got a caller on line 1. Clark. Let's get Clark on here. Clark, how you doing, buddy?
Doing well, yourself?
Not too bad, man. Would you like to take home one of Ken Keegan's prints that we are giving away here tonight?
Oh, I'd love to.
All right, we're going to hook you up with one of those, but you also have something you want to talk about today.
Yeah, so it sounds like there's a lot going on in Houston today. The whole DeAndre
That's an
Jordan
understatement.
thing,
That's just in the strip clubs.
you know, I mean, I don't really want to get too into that. I think that is classic Clippers. It's not a very classy move. And I think he's going to shoot well under 40% from the free throw line because he is not going to have a lot of fans next season. But more importantly, to talk about a player who actually has a little more impact on the NBA, James Harden. James Harden. Looks like he was dating Khloe Kardashian, according to TMZ. Has he just, not Googled the Kardashians and their impact on NBA players? Or
he's Googled them, he's Googled them.
How is this not getting the press that DeAndre is getting?
Well, because we're kind of burnt out on Kardashians dating athletes. It's not really something anyone is interested in anymore. Isn't she still technically with Lamar Odom?
Yeah, they're not divorced yet. That's what I feel like that makes it even better.
That's why Harden's much more secure. She can't put the full Kardashian stink on him because she can't lock him down. I mean, he can get in and out, get the press coverage, get a little media, get a few more Twitter followers out of it, but he doesn't have to commit.
He just doesn't want Lamar to come and Gilbert Arenas at his car.
Oh my god, or Javaris Crittenden. Oof. Glad that guy's in jail, right? That guy carried a gun everywhere. Clark, you bring up a good point. I do want to talk about James Harden and all the teams in the Southwest Division locking up rim protectors. Before DeAndre went back from Dallas to the Clippers, they were all locking up rim protectors. And my friend Eric pointed this out. But I was like, oh, you know why they're all locking up rim protectors? Because James Harden is in their division, and he goes at the rim, and he goes at it hard. So guys locking up Tyson Chandler, locking up DeAndre Jordan, it's important when you play Harden that many times a year.
I mean, everyone in the West has to struggle with how they're going to defend against Harden, right? Like how they're going to prepare against the unique talents that present themselves in the West, and from Harden to Curry to CP3, and then you have to deal with big men like Dwight and DeAndre.
I just thought it was really interesting that Eric brought up, oh man, guys who go at the rim are going to have such trouble in the Southwest. And I was like, I can think of one guy who does that and does that better than anyone in the NBA. So I can see you guys getting up your big men. I feel bad for the Mavericks. They're not going to get DeAndre. Clark, anything else to add before we let you go?
Now that the Clippers and DeAndre have set this precedent that you can go back on moves, it's pretty amazing that we still haven't heard a peep from the Sacramento Kings about going back on any of the moves they've decided to make.
Oh, man.
It seems like they could benefit even more than the Clippers from just not doing anything that they said they were going to do. But it's the Kings of comedy. What are you going to do?
Just waking up like it's a dream sequence. None of that actually happened, Sam Hinkie. Sorry to have fooled you. All right, Clark, well, we're going to set you up with a print. Thank you for calling in, my friend.
Thank you. Take care, guys.
All right, that was Clark, our first winner for today. Joaquin?
Speaking of going back on moves, do you think Dallas comes crawling to Tyson Chandler?
I mean, do they even have time? What if his phone was off? They only have a few hours.
Are they texting him?
That's actually what's horrifically unfair about this whole DeAndre thing is they leave the Mavericks scrambling. They put all their eggs in his basket. They let Tyson Chandler go. They made their roster accordingly as if he was going to be on it. And for him to just disappear like that, I think that's completely and totally unfair. But it's within the CBA. It's within his rights. It's what he has to do.
Do you know the best part?
What's the best part?
Next year, the moratorium's going to be longer. So there's a better chance of more of this excellent, excellent drama.
And did you see the cap is going up an extra $3.5 million?
Hell yeah.
Any cap chaos is good chaos for us. All right, well, I'm going to thank my guest, Ken Keegan, today. We're going to give away a couple more prints later in the show. Thank you for coming on. I can't say I'm going to root for the Mets because I'm not, but I'm not going to root against them. Is that enough for you?
That's good. We'll see you in the playoffs.
All right, thanks for coming on, Ken.
Thanks for having me.
No problem. We'll see you again.
All right, so now let's talk about some of our other favorite businesses around town, Thomas.
Oh, can we? Borders Books, right? Borders Books and Gift.
Oh, no. I'm talking about a
local business.
A local business, right by where Borders used to be on Walnut Street between Pacific and Cedar. 99 Bottles. It's the prime spot downtown for dining and entertainment, with drink selections from domestic to hard to fine beers to a full bar. That's literally over 100 choices to work with. While drinks are the name, the food speaks for itself. 99 Bottles has a great selection of pub food, including a delicious chicken Philly that Thomas orders whenever he goes in. Well, I prefer the What is my favorite?
It's usually something sausage related.
No. I've been going back to the fish and chips. I like that they offer variety snapper and salmon.
Yeah. Are they lightly breaded? Are they thickly breaded? I haven't ordered
thin
them.
crust.
Because I like them thin. I like the
Oh,
fish
it's great.
taste. Do they offer? What do they for the side? Is it
Waffle
just
fries?
The waffle fries.
Always the waffle fries. They're a must.
Where do you dip the waffle fries? In the tartar sauce.
Beautiful. Also a must at 99 Bottles is Trivia Night, hosted by Marisa, held every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Those who know Thomas knows he is the trivia guy, but I would say that Marisa hosts the best trivia in town.
How dare you?
That's just the facts, Thomas.
I host more than she does.
That's fair. And finally, for local sports fans, they have Giants and A's, and if you ask, I bet they could even find the Earthquakes for you.
I bet they could. What is that on CSN Bay Area, South Bay Area?
Fox Sports 2.
The Ocho.
The Ocho. So once again, 99 Bottles on Walnut Street between Pacific and Cedar.
Yes, thank you to 99 Bottles, a wonderful place. And thank you again to Ken Keegan for coming in. That was awesome to have some outside perspective. I've always enjoyed his East Coast sensibilities. Let's blow up some NBA free agency right now. We've already blown up the DeAndre situation.
It's blowing my mind still.
So much has happened. Last week's show, I didn't even want to talk about NBA free agency because Chad, who hosted with me last week, is a great guy, great baseball guy, but he didn't want to get muddled in contracts.
That's all I want to do. I'm here talking room exemptions, mid-level exemptions, mid-level, early bird, Rose exemption.
Well, Ken's a big fan of the early bird, but that's a different story. That's just an age-related eating tendency. Besides the cap going up $3.5 million, which fascinates both of us because that's going to change the way teams jigger the last few missing pieces of their roster. It's going to allow contenders to add an extra role player, and it's going to allow poorer teams to do nothing. Dwayne Wade was the most interesting single contract for me. Can you explain to me why he got 1 year, $20 million? And
it's because, he gets 1 year, 20 because it's what Miami can afford this year while extending guys long term that they need on their roster, while still allowing them to enter the grand free agency sweepstakes of next year. Because the new TV contract will have kicked in, so the cap is projected to go up normally it goes up maybe 10, just very small amounts, but it's projected to go up larger than anyone's ever seen next season.
Right, we're going to have a couple mad scrambles over the next couple of seasons. So why did Dwayne Wade not lock himself up? He's not getting younger. His body is not really adjusting well to his age. He's played a lot of hard minutes. He's played in a lot of finals. Why wouldn't he take a 4 or 5 year deal that the Heat could offer him?
The Heat wouldn't want to offer him a 4 or 5 year deal at the rate that he wants.
But will they next year?
Potentially.
Okay. So do you think there's ever a situation, not ever, but do you think there's a situation where next year he leaves the Heat?
I don't see it. I think this 1 year, $20 million deal sort of has smoothed it over between him wanting more money and them saying, we can come at you with more money next year, just you have to give us time. Okay.
And before we get into individual teams and who got better and who didn't, I also want to talk about what you talked about, the cap going up. Guys, I thought guys were going to take a 1+1, 1 year, and then a couple player options to see what the market was going to be after those seasons. The only guy who really did that was Greg Monroe.
Well, we also got Paul Millsap.
Okay, the Millsap contract, you're right. But there were many fewer. We talked about it forever. I listened to podcasts and read articles about 1+1, 1+2, 2+1, and only a handful of them happened. A lot of the guys just took the 4 or 5 year deal.
Injuries are frightening.
I guess that's true.
You are betting on yourself, and while all these guys are competitive guys who are inclined to bet on their own success, it's not everything's guaranteed. What is guaranteed is a contract of guaranteed money.
Right. Well, they always start to feel bad when other guys in the league who they think are less talented than they are or contribute less end up making more money, which could happen to some of these guys.
You still didn't see quite as many 5 year deals as you would have in the past. There were more like 4+1 or 3+1.
Right. I still think it got overblown for how much of a story it ended up being.
I think the cap nerds of the world are more inclined to think of the most creative solution rather than what if I'm someone who needs money.
Right, and it's easy to be risk averse when you're an NBA player. It's hard to be risk averse when you're in a spreadsheet in a smoky room sipping bourbon and poring over contracts, which I've never done.
Thinking about how smart you are.
How many spreadsheets do you have for sports?
I decline.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna ask that question.
Fifth.
I'll ask that question next year when the cap is higher. All right. So the team that got better, got the big free agent, was of course the San Antonio Spurs, because they need all the help they can get every year.
Well, Kawhi was hurt this year, Thomas.
Oh,
They clearly need help.
Oh goodness. So they signed LaMarcus Aldridge. He passes on the Lakers. He passes on the Knicks, the Rockets, and the Suns.
Oh my God, he passed on the Suns, a team that has never won the title, to go to the Spurs, a team that's won 5 in the past 15 years or 16 years.
They also managed to swing David West, so they got 2 extra big guys.
David West is giving up legitimately $12 million.
He had a $12 million buy-in, said no, got offers from other teams for less, said no, got an offer from the Warriors, said no, and took $1.2 million this year. What was he in the world of Latrell Sprewell thinking? How is he going to feed his kids?
How is he going to feed his family?
How is he going to feed his family?
I mean, I think
Is his family 2 reptiles and live in a terrarium in his house?
He had a big falling out with Larry Bird, so that prompted the decline of the buy-in. But going with the Spurs, I mean, you have to just think he's ring chasing for 1 year, right? Like maybe he thinks he can ring chase, get a ring, and then move on from there.
So this is a team: Tim Duncan, Kawhi Leonard, Tony Parker, Manu Ginobili, Danny Green, David West, LaMarcus Aldridge. Is that the best roster in basketball?
The Warriors are the best roster.
Oh, you think so? You think the Warriors so the Warriors retained Draymond Green, Barbosa, Spates, David Lee's out the door, Justin Holiday's out the door, but you think those guys are better than the Spurs with those guys who only lost a couple of role players?
So what I think is that the Spurs have copied the formula that they saw the Warriors were vulnerable to. In the 2 series in the playoffs that the Warriors were down, when they were down 2-1 to Memphis and when they were down again 2-1 to the Cavs in the finals, both of those teams had a roster with 2 big men who could hurt you offensively. The Cavs is kind of like a weird situation in that those 2 big guys one of them was primarily using the boards to hurt you, but with Memphis it was Gasol in the high post, Randolph in the post, but two big guys where the Warriors would have a hard time matching up, and that's sort of what the Spurs have copied.
Well, and they have 3 very different big guys now, too, because Duncan has been operating closer to the basket on offense and defense. LaMarcus Aldridge can go almost anywhere on the floor, and David West still has a pretty nifty jumper and a decent turnaround game. So they've got 3 guys they can rotate in and out of there to give the Warriors fits. That's just in a straight one-on-one series. But who do you think is built best to win a championship next year? Throw the Cavs in there, too.
I think the Cavs are the most likely team to make the finals. Like if you're gonna say, pick one team, bet on one team to make the finals for your wife, you would have to pick the Cavs because the East is so much weaker than the West.
Well, it's not the Beastern Conference anymore.
No, not at all. It's the Western Conference. But aside from, so I think the Warriors are still designed. They can replicate what they did. Well, maybe not exactly what they did, but they're still designed the same way where they could win. They could just smoke the league during the regular season, especially when teams aren't scheming specifically for just them.
Well, even if they take it easy, then they win 60 games instead of 67. That still gets you a high seed in the playoffs, a bunch of home court games.
And you have to consider that Popovich is fond of resting players, right? I don't see Duncan. Duncan's going to sit how many games? 25?
Well, this allows him to sit even more games.
Yeah.
Ooh, man, so that's what scares me about them. They're going to be even more rested this year.
So the Spurs will be definitely playing their best basketball come playoff time, but I don't know that they're necessarily the best regular season team. I don't know that they're the 1 seed, and I really think it's a crapshoot in the Western Conference.
So let's talk about the teams that swung and missed on LaMarcus Aldridge. He was the premier free agent. He was courted up and down, coast to coast. The Lakers saw him twice, didn't get him. The Knicks had him, couldn't even get a meeting with him because they mentioned him playing center, and he said, "Nah, dog, I'm not playing center." So they swung and missed. The Suns, like you said, swung and missed because they're the Suns, and they couldn't even get Charles Barkley a title. Which team do you think ended up getting better set up after free agency, despite missing on Aldridge? Do you think it's the Knicks, or do you think it's the Lakers?
I think the Lakers are in a better spot now than the Knicks.
Because Kobe is coming back, or does that even factor into it?
No, that doesn't factor into it at all for me. Just because I think Randall coming back, having effectively 2 premier rookies on their team now, just sets them up well for the future.
And what do you think about the Knicks? They got Robin Lopez, who's a very entertaining player and has wonderful hair that you know nothing about. Greg Monroe didn't want to go there either. They signed Aaron Aflalo, Kyle Quinn, and some guy named Derek Williams, who everyone's already forgot about.
So signing Robin Lopez fits their needs perfectly because it allows Carmelo to still play the 3 and Porzingis to play the 4. I don't think they're anything special. I don't think they're necessarily out of playoff contention with how god-awful their conference is.
Which is saying something, though. It's nice to see the Knicks even be able to sniff thinking about the playoffs.
Yeah, and I do think that also signing Rolo just gives them a better base for allowing Porzingis to have his ups and downs.
And before we peace out on this topic, do you think the Suns actually did get Tyson Chandler on the phone in the last couple of hours? Or the Mavs get Tyson Chandler and pull him back from the Suns? Do you think that's possible?
I want to say no. Like, the Mavs have given up on Tyson Chandler twice. They didn't even resign him after they won a title, and that was that was amazingly disrespectful. They didn't even try to defend their title, and they let Chandler go. Then they bring him back. They say, "Oh, we're sorry. Come back to Dallas," and then they say, "Oh, just no, we're kidding, DeAndre."
And you joked about the Kings before, and they kind of quote-unquote got better. But when you look at their full breadth of draft picks they gave up, they dumped last year's number 6 overall pick. Did they get better?
The Kings?
Yeah.
Sorry. The Kings. The Kings have... I don't know if there's any hope.
They gave up so many picks just to get rid of Stauskas and just to clear a bunch of bad contracts off their docket. Do they think they're just that much smarter that they're going to be able to do it without the draft?
I don't know that they have a long-term plan, Thomas. I don't know that they're thinking anything.
Have they proven that they have any smarts whatsoever?
Do we give them credit for having a roadmap?
Oh, man. I'm really frustrated by the Kings because Boogie is such a generationally good player. He could be a top 10 basketball player for the next 10 years, put up 20 and 10, and never get to the second round of the playoffs. And that would be really sad. We saw it happen to T-Mac in his prime, could never do it. Yao Ming could never do it. It's sad to see those generationally talented guys never get to sniff deep 7-game series against contenders, because that's where fun basketball is played.
I mean, it's hard for me to really feel that sorry for any team after having watched the Dubs for the past 20 years.
That's a good point. All right, we're going to move on to our sponsorships. Once again, we'd like to remind you about our wonderful sponsor, Bruno's Barbecue and Catering. We mentioned the storefront location in Scotts Valley, but did you know Bruno's will come to you? Yes, that's the catering in Bruno's Barbecue and Catering. If you have a wedding, a holiday party, a summer jam, we love the summer jam, Bruno's should be your first call. They will tailor their service to your needs. Drinks, bartenders, alcohol, non-alcohol, meat. Have your friends, family, and guests salivating the moment they show up and see the Bruno's logo all over the trucks and the food and the platters, because they will know they will be having the best party and the best original California barbecue. Bruno's, visit their site, brunosbarbecue.com, or call 831-GET-BBBQ, 831-GET-BARBIE-BQ. I don't know what Barbie BQ means, but call that number and find out. Book your catering event. Thank you again to Bruno's for their part in today's show. If you do end up dining at their storefront location, mention Coach's Decision, mention Thomas Todd, my name, and you heard us on the radio, and you will get free French fries. Once again, our love goes out to our other sponsor today, Ken Keegan. You heard him on our show. He's fantastic. We're going to give away some more of his prints as weeks go by. I'm really enjoying looking at his art and finding out what he's up to. You can also go to artwanted.com, search his name, Ken Keegan. You'll see dozens of his works. I saw some beautiful new ones today. Thanks again to Ken for coming on and having a passion for sports and talking about the Mets. And now we bring on everybody's favorite guest, producer Tori. Hello, producer Tori.
Hello, boys.
You have some topics for us
I have
today.
so many topics for you guys today.
We covered basketball. We covered some women's soccer. We covered tennis. Are there other sports out there?
Let's go to the NFL because I want to talk about this. How many fireworks-related injuries are we going to have?
In this country or in the NFL?
Giants defensive end Jason Pierre-Paul and Bucks cornerback C.J. Wilson. C.J. Wilson loses 2 fingers in a fireworks-related injury, and JPP, his medical records were leaked by ESPN earlier today, and he had his right index finger amputated.
Well, he has no right to be angry with anyone, and I'm shaking my finger at both of you right now. First of all, I have to say I'm totally down with JPP. Totally down with JPP.
Well, you know him.
Also, C.J. Wilson's lucky he's not the C.J. Wilson that's a baseball pitcher, because you're definitely not throwing too many fastballs with missing any fingers.
Ronnie Lott proved you could still play.
You could still play, yeah, but he could have had stumps for hands and just swatted the ball away. You know, you don't need fingers when you're a hard-hitting safety who's going to make the Hall of Fame.
I have a suggestion.
Okay.
We rename the NFL to the No Fireworks League.
The No Fireworks League. Come up with the No Fun League. Come up with some other ones that have expletives in there that I won't say, but do you have a suggestion or a recommendation for fireworks?
No fireworks is good for me.
No fingers at this point.
No finger league. All right, Tori.
All right. I'm glad that Ken isn't in here because Terry Collins jokes that human sacrifice is the only thing left to help the Mets.
I saw this. They were on a terrible losing streak. They can't hit. They can't score runs. He's basically given up on everything. He knows he has great young pitching like we talked about with Ken. He went full Aztec. You never go full Aztec. That's all he could think of. But who do you sacrifice? Is it the 25th man? Do you call a guy up from Double-A?
The hitting coach, clearly. The hitting coach.
The first base coach, that's the most dispensable guy on the team, I think. All he has to do is point to second base and slap you on the butt twice a game. So yeah, let's go with the first base coach. We're going to sacrifice that guy. Hopefully he's old and lived a good life.
All right, I'm going to take it to basketball for just a little bit.
Okay.
Can we talk about White Chocolate Jr.?
Oh my goodness, Joaquin, have you seen this
Mario?
video? Is that what's his name?
Jason Williams' 13-year-old
okay.
son, Jackson.
He got game.
Yeah?
Guess what?
it.
Guess whose game he replicates?
His father's?
Jason Williams, a.k.a. White Chocolate, of late 90s fame.
It sounds like his son is probably on a 7-year stretch of not traveling because Jason Williams ain't traveled since he was 6.
Heyo.
I was joking with coworkers earlier this week about this video and that Jason Williams basically invented the modern definition of not traveling because his moves were so slick, the refs were just like,
They'd always look away.
I can't call that when he just pulled that off.
When you fake the ref and the ref looks where they thought the pass went, you can take as many steps as you want.
That's what's Kendrick Perkins' excuse when he takes 9 steps on a play where he's standing at the elbow?
Let's just say that it's more of a pivot area when it comes to Kendrick Perkins.
It's also hard to call anything on Kendrick Perkins. That is a very large, scary man.
Do you know how old Kendrick Perkins is?
He's from the Mesozoic era, I'm pretty sure.
30.
He's 30? He runs like he's 42.
Yes.
And I run like I'm 42. That's how I know. All right, next story, Tori.
All right. Every winner of the Women's World Cup has either been the team that eliminated Germany or Germany itself.
Now, we talked a little bit about this before the semifinals because it was a very World War II matchup sensation. England versus Germany would have been a better matchup than U.S. versus Germany. It was
slightly reversed.
It was a little reversed, but yeah, definitely eliminating Germany is usually where you want to start in a war because they're the ones who are propping everybody else up. You know, Italy would have been nothing without Germany. You know, Japan would have been nothing without Germany in World War II. So really, you want to go after the Iron Eagle before you can take out the dragon or whatever idiotic animal Italy could come up with to be their representative. I can't even think of one right now. So you always take out Germany first. They also have these things in other professional leagues where you talk about the ultimate champion loser, where you lost to the team, who lost to the team, who lost to the team. It's always the Lions in the NFL, so that's always fun. All right, Tori, let's keep it rolling.
All right, Randy Moss out-sprints Antonio Brown at Steelers practice.
I'm not surprised. Are you surprised, Joaquin?
Not at all.
One of the fastest men to ever play sports.
When was the last time he played, though?
2002?
Brown's in his prime.
The last time he played hard or the last time he played?
Brown's in his prime.
Moss seems like a lazy, sure, he seems kind of lazy. He has a lazy demeanor about him, but he doesn't seem like anyone is going to lose his speed.
Well, he's also much taller than Brown. He's probably got strides on him. That was always Moss's thing. He had these incredibly long strides that he would start up almost right away. He didn't take any time at all to get going. That's why he was so great at vertical routes, where he would just run up the seam. The quarterback could throw it anywhere. He'd have more time to stop, recover, jump, and bring the ball in, and then score a touchdown. He was an amazing player to watch when he wasn't playing for Oakland.
All this segment reminds me of is that old Nike commercial of white chocolate and Randy Moss playing ball in high school. I'm going to go straight home and watch that.
Oh, that's awesome. See, I'm going to look up the video where they ask him how he's going to pay his fine.
Straight cash, homie.
That's how you pay your fines, straight cash.
When you make as much cash as Randy Moss.
It was like a $10,000 fine, straight cash.
Straight cash, homie.
All right, Tori, one more story.
One more? All right.
2 more, 5 more. I don't know. What do you got?
Rudy Gay was drunkenly trying to recruit Josh Smith via Snapchat.
I mean, sounds like Mark Cuban's going to be replicating something like that.
Are there sober people on Snapchat?
No,
that's new,
it's not
right?
a thing.
Okay.
All right. Carlos Gomez left gum and a note in center field for Billy Hamilton that said, "I see you dropped all your gum, so I brought you some more."
Oh, first of all, I thought this was going to be a soccer story, and that's really sad on me because I'm a big Carlos Gomez fan. He's a very talented player. But that's very cute.
Super cute.
I think baseball players see themselves in the guys who play their position, first baseman and first baseman, catchers and catchers especially. So it's cute that it translates for center field. Also, you're furthest away from anyone else on the field. It's lonely out there.
Especially as a visiting player.
Cheese stands alone.
Carlos Cheese Gomez. I actually heard an interesting factoid I'm going to tell you guys this week. It might be someone just BSing me, but somebody told me on Monday night that John Cleese's family name, John Cleese of Monty Python fame, his family name is actually Cheese. He changed his name from John Cheese. Never looked it up.
Any relation to Richard Cheese?
Is that guy's real name?
The world may never know.
I'm never going to look this up because I never want to find out if Tanner was wrong or not. But John Cheese.
All right. Here's my favorite one just because I love this guy and it's super cute. Stephen Amell from the CW's Arrow is a huge...
What is that?
It's superheroes and abs. That's all you need to know.
0 for 2. All right.
He's an actor.
0 for 3.
Loves the Jays.
0 for 4.
He went to their practice and was in the batting cage and hit a home run, and he was the happiest little kid ever.
All right, 1 for 5. How old is this person?
Probably early 30s.
That's not a little kid.
0 for 5.
If you went to practice and hit a home run, would you be excited?
I would be excited. I also would like him to play, and I would like to play White Chocolate Jr. in a game of pick.